When power corrupts, the most brutal presidents in history. Some leaders are remembered for building nations, others are remembered for destroying them. Throughout history, a dark list of presidents and dictators has emerged, men whose names are forever tied to fear, cruelty, and unspeakable acts. This video presents 10 of the most wicked presidents the world has ever known. Their actions left scars on humanity, and their legacies remain as cautionary tales of power gone terribly wrong. When Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany during a time of economic despair and national humiliation, what began as charismatic promises of revival quickly became a brutal regime built on hate. Under Hitler's rule, over 6 million Jews were murdered during the Holocaust. Millions more, including Romani people, the disabled, political dissidents and prisoners of war, died in concentration camps and extermination centers. Hitler's aggression triggered World War II, leading to the deaths of over 70 million people worldwide. He ruled with propaganda, fear, and the ideology of racial purity, leaving behind one of the darkest chapters in modern history. Joseph Stalin, the leader of the Soviet Union, ruled with a cold and iron grip. His paranoia led to the Great Purge, where anyone deemed a threat, real or imagined, was executed or sent to gulags, Soviet forced labor camps known for horrific conditions. Stalin's policies of forced collectivization led to widespread famine, most notably in Ukraine, where millions starved to death. Estimates of deaths under his rule reach as high as 20 million. He maintained power through terror, surveillance, and propaganda, creating a personality cult that disguised immense suffering beneath images of Soviet strength. Pol Pot, the leader of the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, attempted to create an agrarian utopia by erasing modern society. In just 4 years, he ordered mass evacuations of cities, banned religion, eliminated education, and murdered intellectuals. People were executed for wearing glasses, speaking foreign languages, or simply being educated. The infamous killing fields became the final resting place for nearly 2 million people, a quarter of Cambodia's population. Pol Pot's regime is remembered for its extreme cruelty and the systematic destruction of an entire culture. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq with an unforgiving hand. He used chemical weapons on Kurdish civilians in Halabja, led purges against Shiite communities, and invaded neighboring Kuwait, triggering the Gulf War. His secret police crushed opposition, and mass graves were later discovered across the country. Saddam's iron-fisted regime relied on intimidation, torture, and surveillance. While he modernized parts of Iraq, the cost was the silencing and extermination of those who stood against him. His eventual fall in 2003 revealed the full extent of his brutal rule. Ferdinand Marcos ruled the Philippines under the guise of democracy, but his regime was marked by martial law, corruption, and brutality. He imprisoned opponents, suspended civil liberties, and oversaw widespread torture and disappearances. Marcos and his wife Imelda looted billions from the country, living in luxury while the population suffered. His downfall came through a peaceful revolution, the People Power movement, but the wounds of his dictatorship still linger. His legacy is a warning of how power, once abused, can tear a nation apart. Benito Mussolini, the founder of Italian fascism, took control of Italy and transformed it into a totalitarian state. He suppressed freedom of speech, banned opposition parties, and sent political enemies to prison or exile. Mussolini's alliance with Nazi Germany during World War II led Italy into ruin. He launched brutal campaigns in Africa, especially in Ethiopia, where war crimes and massacres were committed. Mussolini glorified violence, wrapped himself in propaganda, and died at the hands of his own people, leaving Italy shattered by war and dictatorship. Kim Jong-il of North Korea inherited a dictatorship and expanded it into a hermit kingdom of fear. Under his rule, hundreds of thousands were imprisoned in labor camps for minor offenses or political criticism. Famine ravaged the country in the Zhou 1990s, killing up to 3 million people, while the regime continued to build military strength and a cult of personality. Citizens were forced to worship Kim as a godlike figure. Information was tightly controlled, and the outside world became the enemy. North Korea under Kim became one of the most isolated and repressive nations on earth. Francisco Franco ruled Spain after a bloody civil war that left the country deeply divided. After seizing power, he instituted a military dictatorship that lasted nearly 40 years. Franco crushed dissent, executed thousands of political opponents, and imposed strict censorship. His rule promoted nationalism, Catholicism, and a return to traditional values, all enforced through fear. While some remember him as a stabilizing force after the chaos of civil war, many view his legacy as one of repression and silence, a long shadow cast over Spain's democratic future. These 10 leaders used their positions not to uplift their people, but to control, punish, and destroy. They ruled with fear instead of compassion. Their names remind us that unchecked power can lead to devastating consequences. History must remember their crimes, not to glorify them, but to ensure that such tyranny is never repeated. Let the past speak so that the future listens. The price of silence is too high.